What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for episode 11 of the weekly handheld gaming news. And honestly, July has felt pretty dry in a way. It's been a lot of leaks, rumors, and kind of little spitters of information. Not very many great games to jump into or test. We've had a couple, but as we'll talk about this week, the main one I was waiting for in July has had its issues, but we will talk about some stuff when it comes to the MSI Claw, Legion Go 2, Steam Deck 2, Wuchang Fallen Feathers, the Switch 2, and some of those releases for GeForce Now on the cloud streaming service. And I think August and September is also going to pick up a lot because we're going to have more games to test. We're going to have Z2 Extremes on the way, more concrete information, news, things like that. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it for this week. All right, let's start with the MSI Claw A8, which is MSI's AMD Z2 Extreme handheld. And I've really had my eye on this, and I've wanted to be able to pre-order it, try it here on the channel. I don't know if it's one I'll keep for long-term testing since we are getting so many Z2 Extremes and there's so much coming out. But I definitely wanted to check it out. And as per usual, the launch for MSI has just been lack of information and not knowing when or where these are going to show up. And it's still kind of hard to keep nailing down the exact pricing for different regions, which has been pretty disappointing for those of us who have wanted to get a hold of them. So hopefully we'll have more information soon. But after last week's news, we did have the handhelds show up in Europe, or at least start to show up as far as handhelds pre-orders for them in Europe, and that at least gives us a little bit of hope as far as them getting here to the States and getting more information about our pricing here and pre-orders and maybe some other regions as well. And they pretty much state the same kind of thing in this video cards article, which I had talked about a little bit before, but MSI has become known for their unusual way it launches claw gaming handhelds, if you want to call it unusual. Definitely lack of information on all these launches. No handheld gaming system from MSI so far has had a normal launch, and both the Meteor Lake and Lunar Lake base systems had an exclusive period in China that lasted 1 to 2 months. The Claw A8 has been available in China for over 2 weeks, but it appears to be coming to other markets very soon. Our daily check shows that the MSI Claw A8 is now available for pre-order in 2 color options, white and green, both equipped with the Ryzen Z2 Extreme APU. There are pre-orders open in European retail channels like Alza and Smart SK in Germany, which still has one of the lowest VAT levels in the EU. The price is €976, while other stores list it somewhere between this and €1,000, which kind of falls in line with the kind of pricing and regional pricing we've been seeing kind of leak out and pop up for this thing. And it's just kind of a shame that MSI has to have these launches this way. I don't really understand why we can't get proper launches for some of these handhelds, especially from MSI. Lenovo is not always great either. I think ASUS has done an okay job. We'll see how they do with announcing the pre-orders and kind of marketing for that Xbox Ally, those Xbox Ally devices coming. But yeah, I do wish MSI would just do a better job with these, because honestly, their last handheld's great. The A8 AI Plus has been a great handheld, but it's been hard to get, and they didn't even launch it very well. And then we have this one here. So anyways, that's enough for MSI right now. I'm keeping an eye on this. I do want to get it and test it, but these MSI launches do continue to get frustrating. All right, we finally, after a lot of dry time, had some information come out about the Lenovo Legion Go 2. Now, unfortunately, this was only prototypes that were sold and leaked from China ahead of the official launch, and these were only running the Z2, which is more like a Z1 Extreme. It wasn't running the Z2 Extreme yet in these. And they did originally plan on having a Z2 model, which was going to be basically that's a Z1 Extreme, but in this new hardware, this new controllers, OLED screen, and all of that, and a Z2 Extreme. And my guess is they decided to dump the Z2 and just keep the Z2 Extreme model, which would make more sense in my opinion, and just keep selling the older model with the Z1 Extreme. And these controllers are supposed to be backward compat, so it would be nice to be able to slide those off, put them on there, and maybe just upgrade that way on your old one. But yeah, there was definitely some information already kind of coming out confirming the OLED and the look and the design and the controllers and the trackpad and all the stuff here that we just kind of expected from the Legion Go 2. But it's not 100% concrete. These are still prototypes. It was still the Z2, not the Z2 Extreme and that kind of thing. But at least it does feel like we're edging closer to the Legion Go 2 announcement and launch, because I know that's probably the device most people, besides maybe the Xbox Ally devices, are really waiting for. That OLED screen, the detachable controllers, and all that. The first Legion Go was pretty great, and if they just improve on that, it should do really well. So yeah, a lot of us waiting for this one, and at least we got some hints this week, but it was really just leaks of that prototype being sold and taking a look at that. But it does feel like we're getting closer. All right, here's one I already did a dedicated video for too, and I won't spend too long here, but there was a podcast with Moore's Law and Jimmy Champagne, and all this should be taken with a huge grain of salt, and it's all speculation and rumor and all that. So who knows how all this pans out when it comes to the Steam Deck 2 and potential home console from Valve later on, whether it be 2026 or 2027. But it was interesting to speculate and talk about those potential leaks when it came to the AMD Magnus Zen 6 APU, which is supposed to power the next consoles like the PS6 and the Xbox Series consoles, or whatever the case may be. And potentially it could power what would be coming from Valve as far as a home console, and maybe even a custom version of that architecture made for the handheld. Obviously less powerful, less TDP and all that, but it was pretty interesting to kind of talk about and take a look at. I think the reason why people responded to this was there's just been no information about a Steam Deck 2 or a Valve home console. And while a lot of people are still really enjoying the original Steam Deck, I know there's a lot of people that are ready to see what Valve comes out with next. So any kind of rumor, speculation, or information that comes out about a Steam Deck 2 or a home console, people are probably going to jump on. I thought this was interesting to talk about, but hopefully next year we'll get some real concrete information from Valve or some better hints about when and what the Steam Deck 2 and that potential home console will be. All right, now this one was a bit disappointing for me this week because I've played through Black Myth Wukong and I am not even a Souls-like player. I haven't played through the Souls games. They're not my thing, and I really just don't have time that it takes to invest in those games to fail and learn and all that. But Black Myth Wukong, I was able to just really play through that and enjoyed it. I had plenty of boss fights where I never died and things like that, and it just felt really polished. So I was really looking forward to Wuchang Fallen Feathers, but this game has come out with a lot of issues, mostly performance issues from what reviews are showing over on Steam, and 38,000 reviews. Matter of fact, let's jump over here real quick. 38,000 reviews, 28.77% of the 38,000 reviews are positive. The rest of them are negative reviews, mostly about performance, but also there's a lot of problems with balancing in the game and being polished to the visual. There's a lot happening here where it feels like it was launched 6 months to a year early. Which is a shame because this is probably going to hurt the game in the long run. It did peak at 131K. It was at 50K about an hour ago at the time I was recording this video. I just refreshed here while I was recording and it went down to 37. Still better than I expected considering, but it's not likely to get that takeoff, at least not right now, that we saw from a game like Black Myth or others. And the developers have apologized for one of the worst PC launches in 2025. We deeply regret the inconvenience and negative experience, with performance issues taking the brunt of negative reviews. Can the game recover? And yeah, so it's been a bit of a mess. Now apparently they did push out a patch today, which I'll check out, kind of an emergency patch, probably for something related to crashing or performance, but it's going to need a lot more than that. So it's a game I'll have to keep going back to and checking, but it was pretty disappointed at the state it's launched in this week. Couple of things for the Switch 2 real quick. So that Mario Kart World Bundle is supposed to be temporary and expected to sell out by or before the holiday season, but it looks like Nintendo has another bundle up their sleeve here. So it's going to be Nintendo Switch 2 plus Pokemon Legends Z-A, Nintendo Switch 2 bundle available October 16th. So I would imagine this is going to be the price $5.99 here, just like we got on Mario Kart. So you'll be able to save some money by getting the game this way if you hadn't bought a Switch yet. And that's probably going to be the bundle that carries them through holiday. I would like to see a Prime bundle as well for Metroid Prime 4, but not surprising with Pokemon. Obviously, this would be the way to go. So yeah, you'll be able to jump in and grab a bundle, a different bundle other than Mario Kart, starting in October. All right, and our last part of Switch 2 news that we'll hit this week is Xbox expected to announce game ports for Nintendo Switch 2 in the coming weeks. And that's no surprise. We've seen them hint and talk about this plenty in the past, including the Activision acquisition, where they pretty much had to promise Call of Duty on all platforms, including Nintendo Switch, and parity in that game across all platforms as well. Now, we knew back then they were probably talking about the successor to the Switch, which now is the Switch 2. So I would expect probably starting this year, we will see Call of Duty landing on Switch 2 along with other Xbox games. So I certainly do welcome that. But yeah, Xbox is expected to announce more game ports to other platforms, including Switch 2 and PS5 in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, PlayStation bringing its hit shooter Helldivers 2 to Xbox in August, which it's an interesting time we live in. Games are going everywhere, and to be honest with you, I prefer it that way. All right, with all that news out of the way, let's jump into the GeForce Now releases for this week. A fantastic cloud gaming service for your handheld or whatever device you may be using. If you're not familiar with them, they do have a free tier plus 2 paid tiers you can check in on. I like using the ultimate tier. That's a 4080 with the best picture quality, input latency, and all that you can get. But anyways, let's list out the games that they've added to the service for this week. We've got Abiotic Factor, a new release on Xbox's PC Game Pass. We have Wildgate, which is a new release on Steam for July 22nd. Wuchang Fallen Feathers, a new release on Steam, Epic Game Store, and Xbox's PC Game Pass. And it's probably a good thing because it does run a bit better on GeForce Now for me than it does locally. So, you know, if you want to be able to try to mitigate some of those performance issues, you might want to try to stream that one if you have GeForce Now or you want to try it out. We also have Killing Floor 3, which is a new release on Steam for July 24th. The game's had around 20,000 players. It hasn't peaked very high, but it just seemed to be doing okay on Steam. Legion TD2 over on the Epic Game Store, free until July 24th. So that one's not free anymore at the time of making this video, but they did add that one over there. Barony has been added over on Steam, which is an older title. He Is Coming, which was Xbox's PC Game Pass, has been added to GeForce Now. Supervive, which is over on Steam, added to the service. And finally, we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 for Steam, Epic Game Store, and the Xbox Game Store, added to GeForce Now. And that now puts Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, 2, 3, and 4 over on the service if you want to stream those. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the news this week. Pretty frustrating with those MSI launches, but we'll see what happens with that. Looks like the Legion Go 2 should be on its way soon. I think pre-orders are going to be in the next month or two at most for them. Steam Deck 2 rumors start swirling around. It's always fun to speculate about that. I'm really disappointed about Wuchang Fallen Feathers, but we'll see how that pans out, and if I have to, I'll stream it on GeForce Now and try it there. But even besides performance, the game just has a lot of other issues that they need to work on. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.